All right, good morning. And Cameron's video is slightly off kilter, so let me see if I can fix that real quick. Boom. How we doing, brother?
Cold, tired. Already been at work for an hour and a half and actually taking a little break to do the show. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah, it's a good time to take a break. I know. I rolled out of bed at 11:30, and I managed to get a little bit of a nap in there somewhere. So, good morning, Krista, and we've got Jeffrey Kukin and James Royster watching, both of whom I'm almost certain, they're both watching from Facebook, and I'm 99% certain they both met me or heard about our show through Just for Fun Radio, so big shout out to Scotty DJ Spence. Y'all, Scotty's an absolute trip. I've been talking about, I've actually talked about it on the show a couple times recently that, you know, I was on their show, it'd be 2 weeks ago today actually, and I had an absolute blast. So, before we...
What's he, like 50 years old?
He just turned 50.
Yeah, 50 years old and he's got a mohawk. I'm going to assume he's a trip. I think we can safely make some assumptions there.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, yesterday I called into the show right after this show. I had sent him a message on Facebook, and we're talking about doing some interesting video stuff. I called him yesterday while he was on, and I just meant to call in and give him a hard time for a minute, and all of a sudden we're live on the air talking. I mean, I meant to be live on the air, but I just meant to kind of call in and give Scotty a hard time, crack some jokes, and maybe make some people laugh. And the next thing I know, we're setting business appointments on the air. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, is this how? Yes, damn it, this is how we do it. Arr! So
it's WTF CNN day, man, and I'm curious as to how you're going to tie what we need to talk about, because I agree this is something worth talking about. But I'm curious as to how you're going to tie it into the WTF CNN.
You know, I'm actually going to give CNN some props today on this headline.
Did they accidentally do journalism?
Well, I've read all the articles that I've got pulled up except for this one from CNN Politics. But before we get to the WTF CNN, because my expectation is that as we start reading the article, it's going to be just stupid because it's CNN. I mean, it's the people who think the Malaysian air flight was consumed by a black hole, right?
Don Lemon, worst journalist of the year, Don Lemon.
It's the people who are so psychotic and deranged that they believe that there's an actual problem of white supremacists. It's the people who are so psychotic and deranged that they believe that the germaphobe, the avowed and notorious germaphobe who doesn't drink alcohol, who has never consumed alcohol because of his family's history of alcoholism, Donald J. Trump, hired Russian hookers to pee on him just to spite Obama in Russia. We're talking about people who unironically believe that Russia interfered in the election. That's who CNN is. So just throwing that out there. But let's get to the topic first, and then there's a couple other things that I want to touch tangentially around. So, hey, the Cameron is disabled on this one because he wasn't here yesterday. There he is. Ah. Where's Cameron? There he is. Okay, I know I'm not the only one here that has kids. The Senate voted Tuesday to move ahead with the unprecedented impeachment trial of former President Trump after listening to nearly 4 hours of arguments, not on whether the president should be impeached. No. Yesterday was 4 hours of arguments over whether or not the impeachment is constitutional. It's not. by the way. It is in no way constitutional. Okay? There's a good argument to be made that because of the nature of impeachment and the way it's defined in the Constitution, that it is absolutely not okay to try and impeach someone who has left office. One of the arguments in that regard is that if you can impeach someone who is not currently holding office, then you can impeach anyone regardless of their history.
Yeah, who's the Democrat runner? Impeach! I mean,
yep.
like you.
Or more frighteningly, since the Democrats control the House and Senate and the presidency right now, they can just choose to.
Buddy, I'm gonna have to call right back in.
Okay, they can just choose to impeach anybody based on a desire to prevent them from running for office in the future. Ma just joined us. Good morning, Ma. Love you. So, the question of whether I don't know what just happened there. Come back. There we go. And then there's of course the question of a bill of attainder, and that is that the legislature is not allowed to punish people through legislative acts. Okay, so the Senate and the House cannot choose a random citizen and punish them with what's called a bill of attainder. That's something that we were historically concerned about because it's something that the British were doing. And oh my God, Skype is louder than hell when you're calling in while we're live. Shoot.
Sorry about that, buddy.
We're back.
Yeah, I'm a full-time dad again. I'm a full-time dad again. The kid was calling me, going, the bus does come at 7:30, right? Yes, go outside and catch the bus.
Okay. So, I was just explaining bills of attainder and how that is a power that was explicitly forbidden to our legislature by the Constitution. She says Cameron is echoing now.
Uh-oh. I really hope I didn't just boo-boo all that, trying to be a good dad. I know. It's just my genetic line. My bad. It's the one thing that guarantees I don't have total death from the universe.
Apparently, I just said a whole lot of great crap because Lindsay can't hear me. And that should have fixed it. So, Cameron, just be here. I'll go back to big words. It works. I don't know why you were coming through double, and so I guess I just have to figure that out now.
Whoops.
Damn it.
Much as you don't like the Chief Justice.
Okay, so let me back up. Where was I? Okay, so another point, another reason that you can just look at it and say, oh, this is unconstitutional. It is clear in the Constitution that in an impeachment, that in all impeachment trials, the overseer on the impeachment trials, damn, I forget the word for the overseer on the impeachment trials. The man in charge of the impeachment trials must always be either the president, the vice president, or the chief justice of the Supreme Court. Obviously, in the impeachment of a president, then it cannot be his vice president or him, right? Because one of those is certainly not impartial. One of those is probably not. So it must be the Chief Justice. And as much as I don't like Chief Justice Roberts because, well, he's a professed conservative that sides with the Democrats on every constitutional monstrosity that they push through. He's a legislative monster who actively writes law from the bench, who legislates from the bench. He is one of the most destructive negative forces in the history of the United States of America, and he should be impeached. But it shall hence heretofore be known as the exalted Grand Inquisitor, says Steve. So yes, the exalted Grand Inquisitor, in this case, because it's a presidential impeachment, must, under the Constitution, be Chief Justice Roberts. And it's not. They've got, what's his face? The old guy that looks like he's going to die. Leahy. So,
Leaky Leahy.
Leaky Leahy is in charge of the hearings. Now, this is a big problem. It's not just that in stark refusal to adhere to the Constitution, the trial is being overseen by someone who is not approved by the Constitution to oversee the nature of this trial. Leahy is now the judge, a juror, and a witness, and the prosecution. He's the judge, he's the prosecuting attorney, he's a juror with a vote, and a witness in a trial. He's literally everything but pulling the trigger.
Yeah,
And
he's also
since
what
the,
happens when cirrhosis should have killed you 10 years ago, but for whatever reason didn't. And you keep on drinking.
You think cirrhosis has any contributing factors to his history of leaking?
I mean, alcohol makes you do funny things, man, especially when you consume large quantities of it over an extended period of time. I'm not talking about like having a couple of beers after work. No. That is a martini lunch, dude, if I ever saw one, no doubt.
And I'm going to have a liquid lunch. Ooh! All right.
It's got the olives in it for the vitamins.
So yesterday, what they were voting on is whether or not the act was even constitutional, whether it's even constitutional to prosecute a president. In this case, whether this impeachment is even constitutional. And before I hit the 6, back up just a little bit, let's not forget, it is also the case that Nancy Pelosi failed to deliver the articles of impeachment before the end of the session. Right? So the House impeached, the session ended, and then she delivered the articles. And she did that because she wanted to not deliver it to the then current Senate Majority Leader, who would be Cocaine Mitch.
Mitch McConnell. There's a guy that has bourbon at lunch, now that we're on that subject. I have no doubt.
How can you drink wine at every meal?
Practice. And I thought that was how can you drink champagne for breakfast, but
oh, that's right.
Winston Churchill.
How can you drink champagne all day? We have Winston Churchill. That's okay. If you haven't seen Darkest Hour, just for the scene where Winston Churchill sits down as the new prime minister with the prince, and the prince says, "Well, we have a cabinet meeting or whatever it is every day at 2," and Churchill says, "Oh no, I can't do that. Why? That's my nap time. Is that permissible? Not at all, but it is necessary." So,
anyhow, 15 minutes in, buddy. Let's hit the 6.
So, 6 Republicans joined with the Democrats on voting to continue the trial. This thing could have ended yesterday, been done and over yesterday, by merely the Republicans holding the line and voting that it was unconstitutional to continue this impeachment. There's another problem. The legislature in no way has the authority to determine the constitutionality of its own actions. Let me ask you a question. If a cop pulls you over and says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" You say, I don't know, I was going 10 miles over the speed limit. No, it was because I don't like your pro-Trump bumper sticker, and I've just decided that I'm going to write you a citation for that because it's offensive. Wait a minute. There's no law that lets you do that. Oh, well, let me check. Yes, there is, because I say so, says the cop. That's what you have going on here. You have something that is equivalent functionally to the police deciding what the laws are on the spot, making them up as they go. The constitutionality of an action of the Congress can be determined only by the Supreme Court. And even that's kind of touchy, because let's be real, Marbury versus Madison was one of the greatest travesties and miscarriages of justice in the history of the world, let alone the United States of America. But, so we have these 6 Republicans. Susan Collins, Maine, resign. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, resign. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, resign. Mitt Romney of Utah, resign. Ben Sasse of Nebraska, resign. Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania, resign.
Murkowski and Romney are the two that piss me off the worst. Romney for the obvious reasons, but if you go back and you research Murkowski, her family, I blank on the guy's name, but Sarah Palin had actually endorsed her opponent, and it was an inter-Republican thing. It wasn't just Palin endorsed the Democrat. There's a lot of fuckery going on with that woman that it just frustrates me. And Mittens sucks and needs to go wear his magic underwear somewhere and just retire.
So, yeah, we're talking about 6 Republicans who wiped their ass with the Constitution. They have absolute contempt for you. They have absolute contempt for this country and absolute contempt for the Constitution. And we've known this about Mitt Romney for forever. I mean, when Romney ran against Obama, I voted for Romney. And it pained me to do so. I hated Romney when I had no choice but to vote for the lesser of two socialists. and honestly, I almost didn't vote in that election because it was Romney. For so many reasons. So you've got these 6 Republicans. I'm talking to you. Maine, Louisiana, Alaska, Utah, Nebraska, Pennsylvania. Primaries.
I think the one that's gonna be out of reach is Susan Collins. She won re-election by big margins. I get that she frustrates the absolute shit out of us, and that the media loves her, and that she's always this X factor. But apparently she represents her state the way they want to be represented. And Apparently, the state is roughly 1/3 independent, 1/3 Democrat, and 1/3 Republican. And not the kind where, like, people say they're independent or, the stats say. So, is it frustrating? Yes. But she's not the problem. She's never going to have a leadership role. I think it's much more important. Out of all of them, Mittens is the one that needs his ass whooped because he moved to Nevada and got the other Mormons to vote for him. What a loser! Like the guy could have been president. Might have even actually been a decent president. I mean, might have. Couldn't have been any worse than the second. But oh
no, I'm a pure optimist. I always believe it can be worse. The things can get worse. But so, okay, here's one thing we're learning. The special election in Georgia where we lost the Senate majority to Warnock and Ossoff, it's just simple. It didn't matter. The Democrats already had a 6-vote lead on us. These 6 Republicans, they have in the past and will in the future vote with Democrats more often than is tolerable.
Well, it did matter in one sense. It depends on who the Senate majority leader is. For all the things that frustrated us with Mitch over the years and the fact that he totally stabbed Trump in the back at the 11th hour, the one thing Cocaine Mitch really had going is that dude knew how to play the damn game. And, we pointed out before on this show, like, he did get Trump's judges through. He did get most of the legislation that came out of the House through the Senate. So it does matter.
I'm not clear on how this one works because right now it's exactly 50-50. Like, that was the big deal with Ossoff and Warnock. Right now it's exactly 50-50. So how does that make Schumer the majority leader now?
Kamala's president of the Senate.
That's it. Okay, that's it. That one. I got you. I'm going to say. Oh.
Yeah.
That's right. That's fair.
No, dude, she does what she does best. She's literally in the middle.
Oh.
Hey, man, it's how she's got things done for years. I'm not even mad at her for it. It's why they hate Tulsi, though. Tulsi doesn't have to sleep with people. She's just that good looking.
Okay. I'm gonna do a quick little experiment.
Now that we've been thoroughly offensive.
Y'all let me know if the echo's back. I might have fixed it.
I don't know if you feel like you met your quota yet.
Quota what?
Buddy, did I blow you up that hard? I thought Kamala was a slut joke were overrated. Not overrated.
No.
Past their prime.
I didn't hear the last Kamala is a slut joke because my ears were overcome with the sound of our transition. I just missed it.
Chris.
Oh, now they're saying the echoes. Do you not hear me? Okay, now you don't hear me, do you?
No, I didn't hear you.
Oh, do you hear me now?
I do hear you now, yes.
Oh, dear. And the echo is back. Okay, so I'll just go back to big heads. I don't know why. I'll have to figure that out later. Anyway, so CNN is reporting. Okay, I'm going to pop over to the article view for just a second to show you the headline. Cameron, be quiet for a minute. Trump unhappy with his impeachment attorney's performance, sources say. Okay. So, back to article so we can avoid that echo, and I'll figure the echo out later. So, former President Donald Trump was unhappy with his impeachment lawyer, Bruce Castor's opening argument on the Senate floor Tuesday. Two people with two people familiar with his reaction told CNN. Okay. Normally, when we have the anonymous sources thing, the two people familiar with his reaction told CNN. I'm just like, okay, it's CNN. They've decided to tell us a lie, and they're just gonna make up a source that doesn't exist and pretend like something happened.
Anonymous sources.
But y'all, did anybody watch any of the hearing yesterday? Did you catch any of it, Cameron?
I've caught snippets of it. Trump's lawyer actually said he was impressed with what was put in front of him, and they're just going to make changes at the last second. Like,
Donald Trump's representative, his lawyer, his defense lawyer for this, was so bad that Donald Trump deserves to be impeached for having hired him. He was an absolute shit show. And without any exaggeration, seriously, without any exaggeration, there are rules. As a lawyer, you're required to give the fullest and most robust defense of your client you can. Even if you know your client to be guilty, if you are representing a defendant in a court, in a hearing, in a trial, it is not your job. It's like a fiduciary duty. It is a legal duty. And you can be disbarred and otherwise punished for failing to provide the best defense possible that you could have provided for that defendant in that circumstance. This guy was so bad yesterday. This guy was so bad as an attorney. He should be disbarred and censured for it. Like, his defense was a literal crime. He was so incompetent and boring. Oh my God! With the anecdotes, let me tell you about this little girl that shut up. Do your job. Defend the fight. Do the job. You're a defense attorney. You're not a fucking kindergarten teacher. Do your job. He absolutely should be disbarred. Absolute travesty. Oh. Castor, who is representing Trump alongside attorney David Schoen, delivered a meandering argument during the first day of the Senate impeachment trial, including praise for the House impeachment managers for a presentation that he said was well done. Okay. In fairness, I will grant that you know your worth when the enemy praises your architecture of aggression. And
yeah, but that's when we were talking about how much respect we have for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It wasn't for ideology; it was for tenacity.
Yeah, you know your worth when the enemies praise your architecture of aggression. I believe that wholeheartedly. Bonus points to anybody except for Steve who can name that band.
Seriously, Papa Sheepdog told me when I was a kid, said you can judge the character of a man by observing his friends and observing his enemies.
Yeah. Patrick says Trump will be impeached, then a deal will be struck that lets him go if he agrees to never run for office again. No, there's no way they get 2/3. It's not a simple majority on this one. So the 6 Democrats and Republican clothes that we already mentioned are not sufficient. They need another 14? Not quite.
11.
They need 14 total, so they need another 8. They're not going to get them.
Oh, I was just saying they needed to find another 11 votes total. Because I'm assuming that every single Democrat will vote. Except for maybe Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin might not.
He will.
I don't know. Our buddy Larry Cox, he's from West Virginia. He knows West Virginia politics. He swears up and down that Joe Manchin intends to die in that seat. And when he does die in that seat will flip Republican. And Joe Manchin has to walk a very thin line. And talking about a state that voted 2/3 for Donald Trump, will he flip? Because he wants to die in that seat, according to Larry. So I guess they would need 12 more votes. Anyhow, instead of getting down into the math, you are correct in your baseline premise that they're not going to get 67 votes in the Senate. They're just not.
Right. So, Steve still commented Megadeth with all the rock on symbols, but no extra points for Steve. Steve has deprived you all of your extra points. Now you'll feel bad when I let you know that your extra points could have been cashed in for Girl Scout cookies. So, we're 34 minutes in. There's one more thing I want to address, real quick. This article from campusreform.com. .org. While Donald Trump is being impeached over charges alleging actions that he objectively and provably did not take. Right? The impeachment is a sham on so many levels. On one of those levels is the impeachment claims that Donald Trump incited an insurrection through the use of violent language, and that he is responsible for what they're calling an insurrection, which was a demonstration at Capitol Hill on the 6th, right? Never mind that they had already decided they were going to impeach him again before that. It was very convenient that they happened to get another, we'll call it a reason, in air quotes, to conduct an impeachment. The charge alleges that he is responsible for the actions that occurred on January 6th, but the timeline shows very clearly that the breach of the barricades and the entry into the Capitol building, not only did it occur before Donald Trump's speech was over, not only was it far enough away that when it occurred, it did not occur because people went from listening to Trump's speech to going over there, right? Now, did a handful of people maybe listen to the first 10 or 15 minutes of Trump's speech and then walk over to the Capitol building? Maybe, but the majority did not. We can see that clearly on video. That's easy. But not only is all of that true, before the words fight like hell, defend your representatives, represent your senators, represent your all that, and he very clearly said, we're going to peacefully demonstrate. So that his words were an incitement to violence is a false statement of fact on the face of it. But more importantly, or maybe more importantly, is that the breach and entry of the Capitol, as it is described currently, occurred before he said any of those words. Not just before the speech was over, but before he said, you've got to fight like hell, before he said, we're going over to the Capitol, before he said, do it peacefully, before he said, go and demonstrate and exercise your First Amendment rights and things like that. So he did make a call to action, and he explicitly made a call to peaceful action that conforms to the rights as described by the First Amendment and as are protected by the Constitution and the oath sworn by every officer of the government.
Oh, buddy, I just saw the clock, man. I gotta jump.
All right, deuces. Not only did he not call for a violent action, not only is he not guilty of the thing that they accuse him of, but it is literally the case that it occurred before he said any of the words that are used to make that accusation. So, at the same time that Donald Trump is being impeached on those flagrant and ridiculous, spurious charges, Joe Biden, while you're all distracted, while people are distracted by identity politics and this bullshit circus, Biden quietly nixes Trump-era rule combating Chinese communist-funded propaganda centers. Biden is doing the things for China that the conspiracy theorists at CNN said Donald Trump would do for Russia. Romney said Russia was our biggest geopolitical threat. And Obama made fun of him. And then the Democrats jumped on the Russia gate and ran with it because they're psychotic. Romney was wrong. China was always the biggest geopolitical threat, and still is. And Biden is in bed with them. It's not complicated. It's not. So, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. I love you. I'm about to go watch Just for Fun Radio with DJ Scotty Spence. I warn you, it is not for the weak of heart. So if you're driving, I recommend you wait for a commercial before you try to drink your coffee. Y'all be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, for a toter win.